Hello, my friends. We are going to look at an enhancement to the platformer project in this video. So I'm just creating a specific scene where I have a floor as well as a wall. So when my game starts, for example, the player comes in, falls down, everything is fine here. But notice something very interesting. When I, let's say, walk towards the wall and I actually touch the wall, it looks like I magically jump up to the top of the wall, right? In fact, I can see this from the right side as well. When I come in from the, let's say, right side, I touch the wall, I immediately seem to be jumping over the wall, right? Now, the reason this is happening is because this is basically a situation where wall is looking like a platform. So the sprite does exactly what it's told to do, which is to say, climb up, and the exact same mechanism that's putting the sprite on top of the platform comes into play here. Sprite thinks it's a platform and then immediately rushes up. Yeah. Contrast this with this game here, where we have enhanced the game. A wall is going to be detected as a wall, and hence, my sprite notice refuses to climb up. So I'm trying to press right arrow, but sprite is not going forward. Of course, I can jump. I can jump and make it cross across. So it happens. However, even if I come from the right side, same thing. The sprite doesn't climb up, right? Of course, again I can jump and come back, right? So now, basically, we have enhanced the code to make the wall look like a wall which is different from a platform, right? So we'll see how we do this in this video. Actually, it's quite interesting. Anything we do with the movement of player in platformers is always interesting, has to be done with some amount of care. So before making any change, let's just understand once again why exactly this movement happens. Why does this player suddenly magically just jump up? Well, as I just mentioned, in the player's view, there is no difference between the platform and the wall because both are made of the same color. So when the player goes and touches the wall, in fact, it thinks it's a platform. Touch floor comes into play, and I immediately keep pulling this up until I'm no longer touching the platform. So end up on top of the platform. So let's see how we can, enhance our code so that this wall is detected. In fact, there are three important pieces of code which have to be kind of handled together. And I put them all next to each other over here. Basically, there is a fundamental gravity loop in which the floor is being detected and we are being pulled up or pulled down depending on floor being a floor or a ceiling. So that has to happen regardless, right? So that part we are not going to change. However, the next important piece here is what happens when I click the right arrow or the left arrow. Right now, that's an independent piece of code. So when I go and let's say, for example, touch this wall, this loop is always on, and hence this wall also looks like a platform, right? So somehow we have to find a way that while the platform code stays intact, while the basic touch floor mechanism works, we have an additional mechanism which goes and figures out that there's a wall over here, right? So the way we are going to do this is we're going to use one more my block. In fact, I'm going to put some part of this code as this loop itself. We'll talk about this in a moment. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to define a new my block here. Let's just call it, let's say, walk. So basically say that, look, let me, indicate whether I'm, let's say, walking forward or backward. So I create my block called walk, and I create input here. Say speed, right? So speed is essentially the x speed, right? So how fast am I going on the x direction? So I create this my block. Remember, creating my block only tells you like this block is available, but please tell Scratch what does this block need to do, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell. Let's start with something very simple. I'm just going to say, okay, let me change my x by, let's say, so I just go in here and I go and say change, say x by speed, right? This is exactly what we were doing over here if you think about it. But in order to sort of make all this happen, I'm going to take this forever away, and I'm going to say, well, let me put this as part of the bigger forever. Now something very carefully to be thought about, right? I'm letting the touch floor be as it is, and then I'm adding these conditions. So instead of doing the change x by x speed and change x by -1 of x speed, all I'm going to do is to call, let's say, walk with x speed or walk with negative x speed. So we'll see this in a moment. So when I go and do this, so I just go and say, well, look, walk with either x speed or maybe walk with, say, negative x speed, right? Now at first look, right now this will look like an overkill. Why did we do all this? It's exactly the same, but as we'll see later, once we enhance this, this will start to make a lot of sense, right? So right now the code is going to behave exactly the same. Basically, instead of walking earlier through this loop, now it's happening through this my block. However, the moment I go and touch, let's say, this platformer, let's say this edge, basically this rolls over. Again, I'm in the same situation. Touching floor comes into play. and hence, the player goes up. So what this also tells us is that if we have to do something, we got to do it before, once, once I'm clicking the right arrow, for example, I must make sure that the player gets somehow constrained over here before the touch floor comes into play. So which means that I'll have to do something within the walk my block to make sure that the player doesn't go up, doesn't sort of climb up the wall, right? So really, we are going to do this 4 steps. The first thing happens when I actually hit the wall, which means my right or left arrow keys pressed, which I'm moving left or right, and I go and detect that I've hit the wall. Now, the moment this happens, I will in fact let the player rise, even though it doesn't look like this. We'll see the magic of running without screen refresh in this process. Now, we'll say, okay, let the player rise until a certain limit. Now, this limit is quite small, maybe let's say 8 pixels or 10 pixels, something like that. But nonetheless, we're letting the player rise and we are keeping track of how much the player has risen. So once I find that the player has hit this limit, we immediately bring the player back. As in like back down, and we also move the player away. Now, why do we do this? Well, because we don't want to end up in an infinite loop where the player is again touching this blue color, right? So basically, I'm kind of detecting the situation. I'm trying to see, okay, fine, you can go up a little bit, but at that point, you must come back down as well as backwards. And we'll do this with running without screen refresh. You'll see that this will start to make a lot of sense, and the whole thing will look pretty cool. Yeah. So let's just get back to our problem. Like I said, I want to keep track of how much I have, let's say, gone up. Where is my, let's say, the limit? So I'm going to create a variable here called, let's say, I just call it rise. So it tells me how many steps I have risen, right? So I'm going to say, well, set rise to 0. So every time this happens, I go to set rise to 0. Now, remember, now I'm going to use a repeat until over here to tell my player to rise up until I, let's say, hit the limit, or I am no longer touching the, let's say, the blue color, right? Now, again, I need both the conditions because the wall here may be actually very small, smaller than the limit itself, right? So to handle both of these, I need the conditions. So I'm just going to say, well, look, repeat until, and this is going to be an or condition. So I'm going to say, well, repeat until, for example, um, say, let's do this carefully, rise is equal to 8 or not touching the color blue. Now, not touching color blue is actually quite similar to this. I can just duplicate this part here. Um, rise equals to, let's say, 8. Now, 8 is just an arbitrary number, basically saying that, look, I'm allowing a limit of 8 pixels for you to go up, which means it's a very, very tiny wall I'll go through, but anything larger than that, I will in fact stop, right? So I'm going to say, well, look, let's say repeat until rise is equal to 8 or not touching black color. Well, what I do is I go and change y by, so in the motion section, I go and say, well, let's move the player up a little bit. So change y by maybe 1. However, every time I move the player up by that amount, I keep counting what is the height that I have gained so far, right? So I'm just going to not set. I'm going to say, well, change rise by 1. So it's kind of figuring out how much has my player risen. And the moment I hit the limit, which is 8 in my case, I'm going to exit this loop. Or of course, if the platform is very small and I hit, let's say, this condition, right? Now, what that also means is that instead of 8, if I used 80, well, then my allowed wall that I will jump across is 80 pixels, right? So that's perfectly fine. Now, before moving forward, let's just look at this much code for now, because that will give us clarity on how, in fact, these loops are coming together. So when I do this, you notice I'm moving towards the right side, moving towards the right side. When I start doing this, you realize the sprite rises for a short while and then suddenly it goes up. So what exactly went on? Remember, this loop made sure, this repeat until made sure the sprite would rise for a certain point. But at that point, once this loop exits, which means I get out of walk, I am in fact touching a blue color, and hence touch floor again comes into play and throws me up here, right? So in order to avoid that from happening, well, I would detect the condition that I've hit the limit as we discussed earlier. I will bring my player back as well as to the left side, and that will ensure that the player is no longer touching that ball, right? So that prevents that infinite loop kind of situation coming in, right? So I'm just going to say, look, if here in this my block, if my rise is equal to 8, so let's say in operators, so if rise is equal to, say, actually I can just duplicate this whole thing. If rise is equal to 8, I will pull my player down. So I'm going to say change, so in motion section, I'm going to say change y by -1 times rise, because I know I've risen up rise steps. So I must bring you back to where you were. So -1 times rise. And also I will bring my player back on the X direction. So I'm going to say change my X by, say change X by negative, oh sorry, here. So this has to be duplicate -1 times the speed. So this speed, right? Because I'm moving forward to that step. So I just bring my player back. This will ensure that player is no longer touching the wall, right? Now with this done, let's see this in action. So when I bring my player close to the wall, you notice the player seems to be in this loop where it is kind of, you know, goes up, comes back, but then you click the arrow again, it's kind of stuck over here. And in fact, this tells you that the loop is already in a good shape. Let's try to do from the other side as well. I go to the other side. When I do this, you notice the same thing again, right? Player is coming to the wall and going back. In fact, here the gap is a little bit visible, but the moment I click the left arrow, again, it does this, right? So when I continuously keep pressing the left arrow or the right arrow, the player is now stuck there. It's recognizing that there's a wall, but it's not breaching the wall, right? This movement can be made much more crisp by just saying that, look, let's run this, my block without screen refresh, because then all of this movement will happen, but we'll just be shown the final outcome. So now when I look at this, you notice my sprite goes near the wall and it looks like it's stuck there. In fact, all that's happening is that the entire code is running without screen refresh. So I'm just seeing the final outcome. My sprite seems to be recognizing the wall and not moving further, right? I can look at the left side as well. Something similar is going on, right? So really, really cool. My sprite is now detecting the walls, right? Now, just for experimentation, let's say I do not have this condition in the game. I will still have a problem because my sprite will go there, but it will in fact jump across. Because what's happening, right, is that on the Y speed, yes, I'm recognizing. On the Y side, yes, I'm recognizing the limit. But X, I need to move back. Otherwise, I'm still touching, right? So I must have this condition, right? Now, just to wrap this up, just one final comment to wrap this up. Of course, the wall could have been any color. The basic principle remains the same. All I would need is to change this color to, let's say, the color that I want. So let's say I make a sort of like a green color wall. Let me just make sure this is okay. Now I need to, of course, go to my player and tell the player, look, if touching, not touching, say this color, right? Otherwise, that whole mechanism is defunct, right? So when I do this, in fact, the wall will behave the same, right? So it's exactly the same. So you get the idea that by restructuring the code a little bit, using running without screen refresh in a smart manner and thinking through it very carefully, in fact, we can build this feature. I hope this was useful. Take care. Thank you so much and enjoy programming.